Yeah,
It's,
he was a bit shocked.
yeah, I bet he was, mate. And you know, and then if you didn't smoke and you got a driver that smokes, or vice versa, the fireman or training engine smoke, you can't go don't smoke. Like back in the day, it was just wind the window down and deal with it, you know.
That's right, mate. Yeah.
And I'll tell you something funny, like at Dynon, which is again is that photo behind me in the main yard there. When you're a trainee engineman, you had to learn how to make tea. You got a billy, you know, a little. Probably you don't see them now, but we had the aluminium billy, and the drivers used to teach you how to do it. Put the hot water in the tea, and you had to swing it around, you know, like we had to swing it around, like making the tea, right? And I think, wow, you know, when you think back now, no one would do that. And then when you're sweeping the locomotive out, when you're changing shifts, I was so clueless. Like I'd only been in the job 6 months, and I'm on the shunt engine, and I was with one of the what we used to call there the big wheel drivers, which big wheel is for others who don't know, it's a term for the guys who drove all the fast trains, the Overland, the Daylight, the Spirit of Progress, Southern Aurora, the big wheelers, right? And he was on the shunt engine with me, and perfectly neat, mate. The overalls were crisp, the shoes were shiny, you know, like they shined, you know, like they had this persona about them. And I swept my half of the cab, and then I put the shovel and the broom on the floor, and he goes, "What's that?" I said, "Oh, aren't you doing your half?" Me again. I wasn't doing it to be smart. I just thought I thought fair's fair, but I realized, no, you're the lackey. You need to sweep the floor, mate. And yeah, so we never spoke for the rest of the time I was in the job, mate. Like, anyway. Doug, you got any questions, mate?
Yeah, just two things. Just to follow up to what you were saying, can you imagine if someone's smoking on a steam engine and someone's like, "Hey, who's smoking in here? Where is that smell coming from?" It's hard to tell the difference, you know?
Hey, mate, she would have been a tough job back. I remember, and I can say it now, it doesn't matter, but I know guys would be out in the piss all night, you know, boozing, some, and not all of them, but some of them, they'd come to work, mate, and they'd shovel in that engine for 10, 11, 12 hours, shoveling coal, drinking water. The hangover soon went, you know.
It burns it off, doesn't it? Yeah.
That would have been a hard job.
So, yeah, Anthony, my next question that I have is you said in Australia that there are some trains that go up to like several kilometers long. How can one engine exactly, or locomotive, pull all that?
Well, the longest train on the Australian network that I'm aware of is 1.8 kilometres long, and it's definitely more than is capable for one locomotive. So you're probably looking at about 2 or 3 locomotives. They work in unison, combine the horsepower, and they can pull it much better. But there's a grading system, especially in terms of when you're talking about steeper grades. The steeper the grade, the more power you need. The more power you need, the more locomotives you need. I know that when I worked at Acacia Ridge, we used to go down the border ranges, which is crossing New South Wales to Queensland, and there we needed 3 locomotives, which combined was about 9,000 horsepower to pull the ton. So it's depending on how much you got to pull, how much locomotive, and how much power you need.
And over here in the States, where I've been out when I went to visit Doug in Arizona, and I stopped along the way and actually got right down on the side of the track where it was amazing. I got some awesome footage of these trains coming through. Like I was only about 20 feet away from them, you know, it was fantastic. And you see a lot of them, they got 3 units up front, 2 in the middle and 2 at the back. Like, you know, that's a lot power. Of, yeah, it's big power, mate, you know, and like just massively long trains, like, and, you know, so you're talking about dynamic braking. So how improved is the dynamic braking now from, say, that old engine sitting behind me, the B class? I don't know if that's a B or an S class. I can't see the other. It looks like a B class, maybe. But well, I mean, those dynamic brakes were good, but not compared to what you got now.
Well, I mean, the oldest locomotive I've ever driven was the 81 class, 80 class, which is still, you see a lot of them around New South Wales, but When I worked for Pacific National in the intermodal division, like I said before, the bread and butter locomotive is the NR class, and they're a fantastic engine, really well designed, really well built, and they're still going strong now after 25 years, I think, maybe a little bit longer. Wow. The dynamic brake on them are fantastic. You could travel an entire trip without having to use the air brake if you know what you're doing. So
wow.
Yeah, really impressive.
And can you just explain to people watching what the dynamic brake is for those who aren't sort of mechanically minded?
Well, I'm not all that mechanically minded myself, to be quite honest, but as far as I'm understanding, the best way I could describe it is that it basically reverses the power of the locomotive and turns it into a regenerative brake to slow the train down.